Well, hello. Now we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're live on our friends with Instagram. We're live on our friends with Spreaker. We're live on our friends with TikTok. We're live on KGRADB Radio. So hello, we're live on all of our platforms. And I think I'm just looking at all the, yep. Nothing is unmuted. So nothing is muted. And so we're good to go. Mr. Producer is off tonight. He is having a wonderful time at a concert. So Mr. Producer is enjoying his concert. So we certainly hope that he is having a great time. So let me just give you a couple of the business aspects of things that you need to know before we get into the show. First of all, I'm Bishop James Long. Hello, welcome to the presentation. Welcome to the Sacred Division Paranormal Show. Now, I would like for you to do yourself a favor, and please go to KGRADB. There you go, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. It's right there, KGRADB. I would put it in the chat room on Instagram, but I'll probably mess it up. But kgradb.com. That's where you need to go. And if you go to kgradb.com, if there's anybody in the moderators in TikTok, if you guys could do that, I would really appreciate that. Thank you. You know what? Let me just try this on I'm going to see if I can do this without messing it up. kgradb.com. There we go. I think I did that right. Yep, I did. So there is the website there, kgradb.com. And they have radio shows. They have shows all the time there, all paranormal 24/7. And make sure you subscribe. They sponsor the shows. Keep in mind, you need to put Bishop as your promo code because it's going to save you 30% off your subscription. I don't get any kickback on this at all. They did offer me some type of financial incentive, but I told them no. And the reason being is because, we're on their platform and they help us. And so I appreciate that. So I have a great working relationship with KGRADB. So again, go to kgradb.com and make sure you put Bishop as your promo code and you get 30% off your subscription. Now, my website, for those of you who want to know, and thank you, Debbie, for those of you who want it, is bishopjameslong.com. You can check me out there. Everything is there for you. I do have an online store. I teach online demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. You learn at your own pace. It's 100% online. Just simply go to the class link there. And again, that's bishopjameslong.com. And of course, also, if you want to go to the church's website, it's usocc.org. That is the website there for the church. Now, I don't Fandom Man. Do you have a YouTube compilation of videos? I wish I did. I really don't have a whole lot of time. I just don't. I volunteer as a chaplain at the hospital. And then of course I'm responsible for the seminarians and the Benedictine community. I'm just, I make a lot of phone calls. I just don't have a whole lot of time, but I would like to, but I just don't. So anyway, usocc.org is the name of the church website. Also, let me just give you this information. If you want to go to night prayer, tonight we have night prayer at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone is invited. Everyone. So just simply go to bishopjameslong.com, scroll down to the very bottom, and there you will you'll see night prayer. Just click it. And it takes it takes you right there. Again, people are constantly asking me about my church affiliation, usocc.org. That's where you need to go. That's the church. That's the church's website. Just simply go there. Now, let me just say this very quickly because I have to say it, and I hate to because it's so negative, but I just have to. I have to address it. So, TikTok, I love you. I love you, TikTok, but here's the deal. Trolls, you're not going to get my attention. You're not going to get me upset. You're not going to distract me. You're not going to get me to cuss or yell or get all upset or throw out insults or I won't pay attention. I will not pay attention at all to trolls, to hateful comments, to nasty comments. You will get no response from me. The only response that you're going to get is that the moderators will ban you. Because we just, you know what? Life is too short. Life is way too short. So I don't understand why people want to make other people's lives miserable. I don't understand that. But I just simply got to say, move on, and you can go to another channel. But this is the only response that you're going to get from me. You won't get any other response. All right. Now, a lot of you will have questions about the paranormal. We'll get into your questions. But for the first, 30 to 45 minutes or so, we'll see how things go. I'm going to be speaking, because of Thursday, I'm going to be speaking to a very good a buddy of mine. I've known him for a long time. He and his wife, they're just great. And tonight's topic, we're going to strictly stay on topic. So if you have questions related to the topic, then we'll certainly address it. But if it's, hey, what do you think about the end times? What do you think about Revelation? What do you think about the Euphrates? What do you think about this church? What do you think about that church? Nope. For the first 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to talk about the topic because I stay on topic. And then afterwards, I can get to all your questions. And I'm here 4 times a week. I go live 4 times a week. So if you want to join us tomorrow night, we're going to be here, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Miss Wilma and I come together. We joke for about 30 minutes, and I answer all your paranormal demonology questions. I answer all of them. At least I try to. And then we're here Sundays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I teach Bible study. Okay, so that is how it is. Okay. See one of those. Okay. So tonight, we're going to talk about a topic that is very interesting. It is alien abduction. Now, if you don't believe in aliens, or you don't like it, or you think it's a stupid topic, then simply there's other shows you can watch. But our guest on tonight is a pretty unique guest. And I appreciate him willing to jump on this evening. So again, for those of you who are going to be saying, who's he talking to? Who's he talking to? Who's he talking to? For the 1,000,000th time, someone's going to say, who's he talking to 5 seconds after I tell you who I'm talking to. So moderators, if you could, when people come in, who's he talking to? He just said he's talking to this person. So Willie Windwalker Gibson is the guest that we're going to be speaking to him here in just 2 seconds or so. He's a shaman, supernatural consultant, member of the paranormal community, and a founder of Soul Warriors Supernatural. Now, his team is based in Louisville, Kentucky. He has 2 books, The Shaman Windwalker and Soul Warriors. They can be found on Amazon.com. I strongly encourage you to check them out. If you have not checked them out, get them. Again, The Shaman Windwalker and Soul Warriors. Now, Willie does animal totem readings. He does cleansings, blessings, and weddings. He is Cherokee. So you know what? My sister and I, we have some Cherokee. Our grandmother and grandfather were Cherokee. So who knows? Maybe we're related somewhere. And Irish. He lives in Louisville, and his wife, Shaman. His wife, Shaman, is wonderful. She's such a sweetheart. He's also a UFO contactee. And that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. He has been abducted. And tonight, you're going to hear his story about these abductions, what happened, and we're going to get into it. And if you have questions related to UFOs, related to alien abduction, I will ask Willie. But for the first 30, 45 minutes, we're only going to talk about this topic. So, hello there, Willie. How are you?
Doing good, James.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate your willingness to come on and chat with us this evening.
Sure, James, anytime. We've known each other 20 years. So when we first met on my television show, all these things were going really hot and heavy then in Louisville. So the abductions and all that were still going on. So, we met on TV.
Yeah. You had your little, you had your show, the show that was on, what was the Spectrum or Time? It was Time Warner back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty cool because we got to visit you on set there. And so that was really, and that was the one time, the first time that I met you, Willie, that I really, really respected you is I thought, okay, what is this guy about? Because he wanted to talk to me about demonology and my experience. And I was just kind of feeling him out and just kind of seeing it. But I tell you what, the attention that you gave to your wife, because you're, shaman, God lover, she's, she pushes through, and you were so patient and so caring and I thought when I saw that, I thought, man, that's a cool guy. That is a really cool guy. So I think that's when I first really discovered this guy, his quality, how you treated your wife. I respected that a lot. So let me ask you this, Mr. Willie Windwalker Gibson. First of all, how do you define what is a shaman?
Well, a shaman is a very spiritual person, James. A lot of people think shamans are like witch doctors and things like that. Actually, I call myself a shaman. It was actually put on me because shamans, you just can't go to a book and learn how to be a shaman. You have to be chosen. And the way I was chosen, as you know, I was a cop at the time, and I was assigned to patrol a Native American burial ground. It was there I met the spirit of a shaman who told me I was going to be a shaman. But I didn't believe it until a few years later when I started, all these things started coming to me about the nature and, using nature to my advantage and to help people and I can see and hear spirits and it's just you're a priest, James, and it's like when you go to the seminary, a shaman uses nature and the things around him as his church or her church, and we're taught how to use that kind of those things to help people in the world.
So now, and again, folks, I think it's important to establish Willie's background. You said you were a police officer. How long were you a police officer?
When I graduated the academy, I was put in a state patrol situation where I was in charge of taking care of the fairgrounds because the fairgrounds was a state property, and I had the same title as a state police officer. So I was sworn in as a state police officer, and I stayed that for a year, and then it got too political for me, and I decided to go into the private sector. So I got my own license, and I went independent, and I worked for different agencies.
Oh, wow. That's very cool. So, well, yeah, a lot of police officers are doing that because, it's first of all, there's a lot more money and quite honestly, it's a little less dangerous too. You have the ability to choose where you want to go. So I
had a few times where I was shot at, and I kind of say, well, maybe it's time to, and I had a problem with the commander too. And it's a political situation. I just told him, I gave him my badge and gun and walked away.
All right. So let me ask you, I know that you started, first of all, let's talk about your psychic mediumship ability. And again, folks, I'm not here to debate whether or not you believe in psychic mediumship or not. If you don't, that's fine. If you do, that's fine. We're going to get into the topic of alien abduction in a minute, but I want to introduce Willie to all of you guys so you guys can get understanding of who he is. And then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation. Now, I know that you started hearing and seeing spirits at the age of 10. So when did you begin to maybe come to the understanding that you had something else with you, a calling of shamanism? Was it when you were a police officer at the reservation, or did you feel like there was something else dragging you or pulling you into that direction?
After I had the experience in the cemetery, James, then I felt when the singing fox told me that I was going to be a shaman, then things started pulling me in a different direction. I started noticing things more because, as you said, I started hearing and seeing things when I was 10. Well, actually hearing things when I was 10. And I told my dad, what was going on. He told me not to worry about it, but don't tell anybody. What I didn't know is my whole family was like that. It's, I guess you could say, hereditary. He had it, my aunts had it, but they kept it to themselves. But when I told him I was starting to hear things, well, he understood what was going on, but it wasn't until after I had the UFO experience that I was, I guess, given other gifts, because I went from hearing things to seeing colors, and then I was able to see what was talking to me, ghosts and spirits and things like that. Everything started to rev up or get stronger, and it's gotten stronger and stronger over the years. So I just incorporated that with my Native American heritage. And when I never did tell my father that I was abducted, but I did tell him I was starting to see things, and he worked with me then. He said, well, then it's time for me to start telling you a few things. And he would tell me about my background, and they were raised in the hills of Kentucky, and they were coal miners and farmers. and he was telling me about all the things that went on up in Hazard, where he was from. And I would tell him when I would see a ghost, he said, don't, or a spirit, he said, don't tell anybody, because if you tell somebody, they're going to think you're sick, and they might take you away from it. He said, anytime you see or hear anything, you come to me. So after that, he would do stuff like take me to places like funeral homes and let me get used to dead people. You know, they could be complete strangers, but we would go to the funeral home, we would go in, and he would take me up to the body, and he'd have me touch the body, and he would explain what was going on. And sometimes I would look at the body, and I'd look over in the corner, and there the person would be standing there. And I told my dad, he said, sometimes that happens. They have to wait there in hollow ground before they can move on. And he kind of trained me that way.
Yeah, and again, for those of you just tuning in, I'm Bishop Long, and I'm talking with my good buddy Willie Windwalker Gibson, who is a shaman. He is he's psychic medium, and he is also an alien abductee survivor and a contactee. Let me ask you, for those parents, because I'm sure, and again, I'm not going to sit here and debate whether or not you believe in psychic mediumship. For the listeners or viewers out there, you can choose your own opinion. But for those parents who do believe that their child may have these abilities, what advice would you give them if a child comes to you and says, look, I'm hearing or seeing things? What advice would you give them?
Well, I've had many parents come to me and tell me, my little girl or my son has been seeing and hearing things, and things that's been going on in their room, and things being moved around and levitated and all this kind of stuff. And I would settle down and tell them what was going on with the child. And I said, one thing, you have to believe your child, and you have to know that this is a gift. This is not a curse. So you have to understand what's going on. Now, if you want to bring them to me and let me train them, that's one thing. But if you want to work with them and just believe what they tell you and show them that you're not afraid, they won't be afraid.
Okay. Now, so let me ask you two questions. The first question I think is probably obvious because you're the guest here. How convinced are you that aliens exist and that abduction really, truly does exist? And what age? And can you tell us the story of your first abduction?
Well, as you know, James, a few things were going on with me as a child. I was overweight. I was born with a club foot, and I wore a brace. A lot of things. And I was Native American on top of that, which, that's a whole different story. But nobody would want to be around me. I mean, I never had a whole bunch of friends at school at that age, and people, kids would go out and play normally. Well, I couldn't hardly stand up, so I would be by myself a lot. So, like my brothers and sisters, they had their little friends and they would go play, and I would go out back and play by myself. Well, one time I was out back, and I was talking to something or someone. And, I could hear the voice talk back and forth to me. And all of a sudden I looked up and there was a star in the sky. Now, this was like 4:00 in the evening. And I watched this thing get bigger and bigger and bigger until it was overhead, and it was rotating, and it was like an overturned bowl, and it had all kinds of lights underneath of it. And I was looking at it, and all of a sudden there was a flash of light, and it was dark. I looked around, and it was 4:00 when I was outside playing, and it was dark when the flash was over with. So I walked into the house, and my dad was mad. He said, "Where have you been? I've been looking all over for you." And I looked up at the kitchen clock, and it was like 8:00. He said, I started to call the police, and I didn't know what to say. I just told him I went out walking, and I just time got away from me. Well, he sent me to bed, and that was fine. I was laying there in bed, and a voice told me, "Everything's going to be all right, Willie. Everything's going to be all right." And the next morning when I woke up and went downstairs and I was talking to Dad, I figured I was going to get whipped or something. He acted like nothing would actually happen. He said, "Good morning, son." He said, and he got up and went to work like nothing ever happened. So it was at the age of 10 that I seen this thing, and I just forgot all about it. I didn't even tell Dad about it because I was still kind of scared.
Okay, now a lot of people who say that they have been abducted always say that there is some type of time change. So for example, it might be 5 o'clock, and then they think it's just like 15 seconds later, and then they come to, and it's, like 9 or 10 o'clock that evening, or vice versa. So what do you think happened when you were age 10? Would you say, in your own opinion, that you were abducted, or do you think that you just saw this UFO, and that was it?
James, at 10 years old, I didn't know what to think. I had no memory after that what happened. I knew I'd seen the thing, and then it's almost like I forgot, what happened after that. But after a little bit of time, little memories started to come back, and I can remember, a room, and I can remember beings being around, and I can remember this one being was tall with blonde hair and wore like a jumpsuit, and his skin was not solid white, kind of like olive colored. And I can remember he told me his name was Adam or Atom or something like that. And then I started remembering, him telling me everything was going to be all right, and all, not to worry. And as I looked around this room, I saw these other little beings I call blue grays was there too. And little by little, I started remembering, that they had me on this table, and they were kind of touching me a little bit, and I can remember different little things up in the ceiling. And it was at that time I realized, hey, these people came and took me away. It was further on, like I was 10, but as I started getting towards 11, other things started coming to me. Memories, but that was just the beginning. I mean, there were other times that they showed up in other different places and took me to.
Okay. And of course, if you guys have any questions at all in the chat room, again, I'm not discussing, I'm not the demonology we're talking aliens, abduction. That is what we're talking about right now. So if you have any questions that's related to Willie's story or his experience and you would like for me to ask, go ahead and you can throw those in there, and I will try to ask him while I'm conducting the interview. But again, for those of you just joining, I'm talking to Willie Windwalker Gibson, who's a shaman. And of course, he's talking to us about his experience about being abducted. And again, it's interesting. There are a lot of people. There are many people who absolutely are convinced, even clergy, that alien abduction does in fact exist. And there are many who say, nope. It's not. It doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. Let me ask you this very point blank question, and based on your experience and your belief that you have been abducted, would you place your hand on the Bible and swear that you have been abducted by aliens?
Sure would, James.
Let me tell you something, and I know Willie, and if Willie tells you that, then you can take it to the bank. He's a man of faith, and if that answers all I need to know, that's pretty. That was without hesitation. Well, why do you think?
James.
Yeah.
James. It was, this started at 10, but like I said, it was ongoing things, different times, different situations. Heck, even shaman even had experiences with me. So, I can stay here and I've got a bunch of stories I could tell you what happened. Okay, well, hey, we're going to get into it. I'm excited about it. So, Willie, my sister wants to know, have you seen them since you were 10 years old? That's when it started. So that you've continued seeing them. Is that correct? Yeah. As I grew older, James, like 11, 12 years old, I would go out and visit my aunt out in the country. She lived in a trailer, and there was 4 or 5 other trailers around her. And there was a friend of mine, a girl next door that, would come over and play with me. She was like 12. And one time she came over and we went for a walk in the woods, and the woods came out to a little clearing or like a little meadow. And when we cleared the meadow, cleared the tree line, there was a ship sitting there just parked. And she looked at me, and I, and all of a sudden, she fell down asleep. And I was looking at her, and I looked at the ship, and the door opened up, and Adam walked out. And the next thing I know, I was waking up, and she was still asleep, and the ship was rising up and going away.
And this wasn't this wasn't a dream. You were completely awake.
Yeah, I was awake, and I saw the ship. I saw the door open up. Now she had already fallen asleep. She just laid down with sleep, and the door opened. Adam walked out, and I started walking towards him. And it's the last thing I remember. And I was laying down beside my friend, and when I woke up, the ship was rising up and going. I mean, it just shot out of sight. And then she started waking up. She said, "What happened?" And I didn't know what to tell her. I said, "We fell asleep." And I got up, went back to the trailer park, and my aunt said, "Where you all been? You've been gone a couple of hours." And I just told her I lost track of time. She and the girl that was with me, she never did. She just thought we laid down and fell asleep. She doesn't remember a thing.
Okay, now, and again, for those of you who are asking questions there on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, for those of you who are asking on TikTok, for those of you, anybody who's asking on Instagram, remember, Mr. Producer is not here, so I'm trying to grab questions from everywhere. So just be patient, folks. There's a lot of questions. Eddie's asking, is this happening to you today?
I haven't had, not as I remember, anything happened for several years. And okay. I don't know, it's because Shimon and I have gotten older or what, but one time, I guess it was, 15, 20 years ago, we were, asleep, and I woke up, and when I woke up, this being, this was a taller blue-gray, was putting Shimon back in bed, and he had her in his arms, and he was placing her back in bed. And Shimon woke up, and the reason she woke up, she told me she had to pee. And the whatever was over her, she was able to break through. She woke up just in time to see this thing leave. I mean, sometimes it comes in a beam of light. I've actually seen my wall and my bedroom open up and two beings walk out of it. I went through all of that. And as we were talking a little bit while ago, James, last year, I started, as you know, I have a implant at the base of my neck, and I started having pain back there, and I reached back there, and this little pea-sized thing that I had ever since 10 years old had grown to almost a golf ball size. So I jumped in the car and went to the ER and went in, and they checking the back of it, and she said, "Sir," he said, "it looks like some kind of abscess. I'll open it and see what's going on." Well, they did minor surgery there in the ER, opened this thing up, and all this stuff started coming out. And he said, "Sir," he said, "I don't know what's going on." He said, "Whatever this stuff is, it kind of looks like organic, looks like kind of webbing or wires or something like that." He said, "I never seen anything like it." He pulled the stuff out of me and showed it to me in a sewer waste, which I'm glad he did. And he sewed me up. He says, I don't know what was going on there, but he said, I've never seen anything like that before. So I told you, I thought the implant had destroyed itself for some reason. Either they're done with me, or I'm going through another chapter with them, or whatever. But I don't feel like I have the implant anymore.
Yeah, well, okay. So then, of course, there's a lot of questions, and again, folks, understand. I'm going to get to as many as I can, but TikTok is going very, very fast. We got a lot of questions, so I'm just trying to do the best again. So just relax, everybody. Just relax. I got a question there. I did see a question there on TikTok. There are many people who believe that there are several species of aliens, not just one particular group. So the question is do you believe that is the case? There's people that are humanoids and grays and lizard people. Do you, from your experience as an abductee, have you found that there are multiple species? And if so, how many do you think that there are?
James, later on in life, as I got into being a teenager and growing up and everything, and I started remembering different things, I had a discussion with Adam. Adam said there is a federation of other planets. Now, if you ever saw the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, the older version, and he comes to Earth and said he was part of a federation. Well, there is a federation. There is other species, and there are other species on Earth in different bases.
So then, okay, and a lot of people are asking this question. Lots and lots and lots of people are saying this. How did Adam communicate with you? Was it telepathically? Or was it verbally? How did he communicate?
Never talked. It was telepathically. I never did hear his voice. He had facial expressions, but I could, like you and me are talking now. It was like him and me are talking, only his mouth didn't move. And get this, James. I didn't talk either. We were communicating by brain power. I know it seems strange, but it did. And I've been watching some of these shows on TV. I know a friend of mine, Ben Hansen, has a show on that the UFO Witness or whatever, something like that. And he's been going into these different cases and talking to different people. And a lot of what they're saying is what I've already experienced. I've talked to Ben about this. So I've talked to a lot of people. I don't know if you know who Stanton Friedman is.
Sure.
Well, about 20 years ago, Shaman and I went to a UFO symposium here in Western Kentucky University, and I got to sit down and talk with Stanton, and I told him the story. And I told him the story of Shaman's experience when she's a little girl, and she was at a drive-in, and she was sitting outside watching a movie, and she seen three saucers fly overhead. And she told him about that, and he looked at her and me, and he said, Mr. Willie, he said, I'm telling you, you two were brought together for a reason. He said, I don't know what, but he said this was meant to be. And I really like Stan. He's gone now, but he really talked a lot about what I went through and all that kind of. It kind of gave me an ease of what was going on.
Now, people ask me all the time as well, and of course, I do not think aliens are fallen angels. That's from a theological perspective. They always ask me, do you believe aliens are fallen? They're demons. And no, I do not. That's my personal theological belief, and studying demonology and theology. That's what I believe. However, this show is about having a conversation, and we can all have a conversation respectfully, and we may agree or disagree. That's perfectly fine. Do you believe that alien species are demons, or do you think that they are just a created a species, just like humans or other mammals?
Created species, James. I know what a demon is. I've been doing this for years, just like you are, only the Native American versions, and I know what a fallen angel is. And these are different species. Some are from interdimensional, some from other planets, and some are good or some are bad, and so a lot of the good ones are keeping the bad ones from really overtaking us. Now, you see a lot of these ships are from different species, but some of these ships, and I'm telling you, some of these ships you're seeing are back engineered from crashed UFOs, and it's us. We have a space fleet. It's not what that was on TV. We've had a space fleet for years. We got people on the moon. We've got people on Mars. We've got different places here on Earth. They're underground bases that are under the ocean. I can remember one time when I was taken to a place that looked like a giant cave, and in this giant cave there were these big cylinders, and in the cylinders I couldn't kind of make out what they were, but I could make out the silhouettes of what looked like humans in these cylinders. So it was like a giant laboratory. I've seen memories that coming back to me of underground trains that goes from underground from different bases in different states. So there's a lot going here on Earth that people don't realize.
There was and again, for those of you just joining, I'm speaking to Willie Windwalker Gibson. He's a shaman and a former police officer, and he's talking about his experiences being abducted from as by aliens being abducting him and his wife Shimon. There's a question that I saw on TikTok, and the question, when you're dealing with demonic entities, oftentimes you will smell sulfur, or there will be a horrible. Also, there's other things that occur. Physiological speaking, with your body of dizziness and sickness and lightheadedness and things of this nature that occurs with a demonic presence. When you're in the presence of an alien, as you have claimed that you are, and you have been abducted, that's a great question. Is there a particular smell that comes with these, like a demonic or a feeling, physiological speaking?
James, let me tell you something. People wouldn't believe this, and this is it smells, you know how a newborn baby smells.
Mm-hmm.
What I smell.
Wow. And it's overwhelming. It's everyone. It's a powerful smell in the entire room. Yeah.
And it's not sulfur smell. It smells like a newborn baby. When I smell that smell, I can know there's something around. And if something starts ringing, I have a real bad ring in my ear when I know there's a ship around. And there's a lot of time I've gone outside, daylight or dark, and I've looked up and I've seen little orbs dance across the sky. So I know they're around. They know where I'm at. I know I don't have the implant like I used to have, but I think I'm so in tune with them now. They know where we're at.
And now, okay, so here's the question I got to ask about this Area 51. Now, most of us have heard about Area 51. We have a lot of people who might be watching overseas, that Ireland, England, and other locations, especially on TikTok. So if you don't know Area 51, you can certainly Google that so you can learn more about it. But it's a very secretive military base that is in the United States that you cannot even get close to. And if you do, you're going to there's literally signs everywhere. If you cross that line, they can shoot you. I mean, it is that intense. So if from your perspective, do you believe Area 51 contains UFOs, contains aliens, contains ships, or do you think Area 51 is strictly military aircraft?
It's both, James. And now let me tell you something else too. There's another base in Utah that is like Area 51, but it's not well known. It's underground, so you're not going to be able to see it. It's more modern. But yeah, there's an Area 51 in Utah too. And when I was really into the UFO thing, I was a member of MUFON. They came and asked me to be one of their counsel people to counsel people that was abducted and seen UFOs and things like that. I used to have people show up at my house, and I would counsel them and things. And I know about the base in Utah. And one time I was doing that, and I don't know, it was 4 or 5 people, and then we had a meeting, and they left the house, and it wasn't too long after that the phone rang.
Oh wow!
And I answered the phone, and nobody was there. I kept hello, nobody was there, and I looked at the phone ID, and it was a area code. Well, it didn't tell me what it was, so I called the operator, and I asked him what this area code was, and he said the area code was from Utah.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Now, being an abductee, do you have that sixth sense or spidey sense, I guess you could say, of other people that you can say, yep, that person has been abducted. Yep, that person has been abducted. Are you able to?
Yeah, it's like a sense, and they all have the same look, like terrified. I've had people show up at my doorstep that were nurses and doctors and lawyers and all people from all walks of life. And you're not going to believe this. Yeah, I will. Sit down and tell me your story. And they're pretty close. Okay,
so since since you're a psychic medium, since you're a shaman, you've been abducted, do you believe that I have been abducted by alien species?
You want me to tell the people, James?
Sure.
Yeah, I do.
Wow. There you have it. It's interesting because how is it that a person is able to know if they have been?
Let me tell you something, James. When we met, okay, I asked you to be on my television series,
mm-hmm.
okay? Well, the reason you were there, three people came to me and said, "Look, we met this priest, and they told me all about you. You were a demonologist and you were an exorcist and all this kind of stuff." And things kind of clicked. Something in my brain clicked. I said, "I got to have this guy on my show." Well, when you showed up and sat down, I didn't tell you, but I knew then that you'd had some experience. You just hadn't remembered it or wouldn't say anything about it. It's just that vibration that you had. It's like Stanton Friedman told me. It's no coincidence. I mean, you will run into people. He told me he would run into people like you, and they will come and talk to you. And it's almost like Stanton had been abducted too, because this is the way he talked to me. He was very, very, he's very intelligent, very low key, but it's just like talking to your grandfather. So he told me that I would start running into people, and yeah, you had that vibe.
What's interesting, one thing that I really haven't shared with anybody is I've lived in an apartment complex in Louisville, and now, of course, I thought this was just a dream. So, but here's what very interesting situation, and it's still, and you can my buddy Steve-O, he'll tell you it's very weird, but I had dreamt that I was out in the field. There's a small hill, and then there's a field a little past the apartment complex. And I had dreamt that I was there, and I've taken the dogs out doing their business. And I looked up, and there was a very bright light, really almost, I thought it was a star, but it kept getting brighter and brighter and brighter and coming, and no noise. I could just hear, the wind, but no noise at all. And I saw this thing land right there on two strips, and that's it. I don't remember anything. I remember waking up the next, I don't know when, several hours later, in my instead of my bed, I was on the couch, and I got upset because I remember losing my watch when it came down. Kylie and Fuzzy kept jerking me, and I lost my watch, and I loved this particular watch, and I was frustrated because I couldn't find it. Well, so I talked to my buddy Steve. I said, "Steve, you got to help me find this." So I thought maybe I wasn't paying attention when I took, Fuzzy and Kylie, my dogs at that time, outside. So we went out in the field now, and it's still there to this day. There are two strips. There's this, it's plush. The grass is beautiful green everywhere. But where this thing in my dream landed, the grass is it's not growing anymore. It's completely dead. And Steve was walking around the area because I thought maybe it was there, and he found the watch. It was lying right there on the ground. And this was a nice watch that I'd saved for a long time to get. And so even to this day, we still don't know how that watch got there. And I would never have, left that watch out. There's no way. But it was there. And even to this day, if you go to that spot, you can see there's two huge, looks like 15 feet long, maybe about 3 feet wide, where the grass is not growing. It's dead. And I just thought that was very, very interesting.
I would say, James, that wasn't the first time.
Well, there we go, folks. So that's news. So do you believe that these alien beings, do you think that we're going to get 100% confirmation without question that they exist?
I do, and very soon.
And why do you think that?
Well, James, they're coming out and showing themselves more. I mean, instead of they'll come and they'll hover for long periods of time, long enough for people to take their picture. They'll land. And people see them landed. You see videos of them going in and out of portals. They're getting to where they don't care, and I think there's going to be a major thing happen. I don't know if they'll land in Washington or whatever, but they'll make themselves known. I don't know if they'll contact the president and say, "Hey, we're coming and be ready for us." I don't know how it's going to happen, but I do think there's going to be a major landing soon.
And do you think that these are going to be the particular ones, that the grays or the species that are friendly?
I'm hoping they're going to be friendly, James, because like I said, we have a federation out there that's they're taking care of us, and they have gave us some back engineering for us to help ourselves. So we've got weapons that people don't know about. We've got we've got lasers and all kinds of things, and we've got these back engineered vehicles that we've made that we do have a space force. We've had a space force for 30, 40 years. And it's like we were talking the other day, or just a while ago. We've got bases on the far side of the moon, and we got bases on Mars. I mean, NASA's just a smokescreen. I mean, we can jump in a ship and be on the moon in an hour if we wanted to be.
So for those of you, yeah, and Elaine's asking a question about the Marfa lights. For those of you who don't know Marfa, M-A-R-F-A, I would encourage you to look that up on Google. A lot of people are seeing what they would define as mysterious glowing orbs. So Marfa lights that appear in the desert outside of the West Texas town of Marfa. In Texas. And it really, a lot of people are so confused about these orbs, these huge orbs. Now, sometimes the lights hover, they merge, they twinkle, they split into two, they flicker. Sometimes they float up into the air, dart quickly across Mitchell Flat. So there seems to be just a lot of people are very confused about these Marfa lights. Now, the Native Americans of the area thought the Marfa lights were fallen stars. But they're not falling, they're going up, and they're moving cross and dying up and down. All these lights that we're seeing in space or in the air that does this, would you say that these are UFOs, or what in the world do you think these things are?
I think the Marfa lights is some kind of Earth energy. I really do.
Okay.
But the UFOs that they're seeing up in the sky, those are real, and I believe that those. You know, you might think I'm crazy, people out there, but I think they're patrol ships, and some of them are ours.
Wow, they're ours. Okay. Well, let me ask you. Okay, there's a lot of people asking. They're everywhere on social media. Reptilians. That people say that the Queen Elizabeth was a reptilian. People say that George W. Bush was a reptilian, that Barack Obama, that Hillary Clinton. It's like everybody's a reptilian. I'm sure there's people out there think that I'm a reptilian. I'm sure of everybody. Do you believe in this alien species of reptilians or lizard people, as some people call them, or do you think that's just a figment of people's imagination?
Yeah, the reptilians, James, and there are some aliens that are shapeshifters that can take different forms. So they might have that ability, but they are reptilian.
And would you say, okay, so here's the $1 million question. Then, as you're a psychic medium, you're a shaman, you're an abductee. Do you believe that there are famous celebrities that you believe, do you believe that they are reptilians or of alien species, or do you think, again, that's a figment of people's imagination?
James, again, there are a lot of shapeshifters out there that could be.
Okay.
You know.
Now, and you said your implant, someone would ask a really great question. For those of you who don't know this, you can look this up. You can Google this. Michael asked a question about Dr. Lear. Dr. Lear is a surgeon who actually did surgery on abductees and retrieved implants made of plant material that actually moved. So you can look that up, guys. You can Google that, Dr. Lear, L-E-E-R. So you don't believe that you have any more of these implants in your body?
I don't think so, James. I think the one that I had was destroyed itself. I don't know if it was a mistake or overpowered or what, but the doctor told me it looked like, like roots or something like that, like plant-like type thing. He says, I don't know what it is. It's organic. And he said that he was going to take it up and, send it out to be biopsy, but I never did hear a word back. And now that's happened to me a lot, James. Let me tell you this story. One morning I woke up and there was a green substance on my bed on the sheet. And I showed Shaman. She said, I don't know what that is, Willie. So I called a friend of mine. I said, why don't you go ahead and cut it out of the sheet and send it to this to be analyzed at University of Kentucky. Well, I put it in there and I sent it off. I never did hear from it again, James. It just disappeared.
So they never even contacted you? They never said anything?
Oh, no, never did. I called and they never got got the sample or anything, I knew I sent it to the right address. So things like that has happened. Shoes woke up and had green liquid coming out of her nose, and that told me that they had been there and put something up in her nose. I mean, matter of fact, they broke her nose, and she had 2 black eyes, and I had to keep her in the house for a week because I didn't want her going out and people thinking I beat her up. I mean, she had raccoon eyes. I mean, whatever they did, they broke. To me, it looked like somebody had punched her in the face, and it wasn't me at nighttime or just flailing in the bed or something like that. Something was placed up in her nose because she had that green substance.
Is there a way, we tell people, hey, don't play with Ouija boards, don't do things that's going to give you the invitation for a demonic to come into your life. Just don't do it. Don't go out provoking, don't invite, just leave it alone. So I guess the question that there are some people, believe it or not, that they want to know, is there a way to communicate with these beings? Is there a tool? Is there any type of technique that you can do to make communication with them?
James, my past. You know that there's been times that I've had to go to the hospital and go into surgery and stuff like that. Well, this one particular time, I wasn't doing good. I had belly surgery, and I wasn't doing good, and the doctors were concerned. And lo and behold, and I wasn't delirious or anything. I was in a hospital bed, and I could feel something changing. I looked at the clock on the wall, and it was actually moving slow. The fast hand was moving really slow. And I looked around the room, and I could see a bright light coming through the window. So I knew that they were there. They had sent something there. And I still looked around the room, and there was like a shimmer to the room, and I could see these beings walk up to the bed, look down at me, and they were concerned too, because at that time, I guess the implant told them what was going on, and they come there and they looked me up and down, and they walked back into the shimmer, and the light disappeared. The next morning, I felt a whole lot better. So yeah, they knew they're in tune with me, and there's been a couple of times that I've ran into people that were really UFO crazies, and they knew my reputation from MUFON and all that, and they showed up at my house one time and said, "We want you to bring in a UFO so we can see it." I said, "I'm not going to do that." And they said, "Well, we think you're lying." I said, "Right, do you?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Come outside." It was dark time. It was like 9 o'clock at night. And I live kind of like on the edge of the city. I said, "Look up." And they looked up, and there were these 2 orbs or dancing in the sky. I said, "There they are." And I walked back in the house and left them standing there, and you could hear the car's door slam, and they took off.
Now, there was a great question. There's a lot of people asking really, let's see. No one asked how aliens survive. I've been, okay. Yeah, I'll Gene, I'll get to that. I think it's Gina Reen. So Juan asked on TikTok, and again, for those of you, what happened, you'll see that sometimes I'll nod. That means I'm acknowledging your question. So just, you don't have to don't spam. So that's just my way of saying, yep, I see your question, and I will get to it. Do you have a few more minutes? I know we've gone over time, but do you have a few more minutes here with us?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Juan asked a really great question. There's a lot of great questions, and I'm trying to get to all. Juan says, "Do you believe animals get abducted as well?"
I'm sure they are, James, but when that's happened to me, I haven't seen any animals around, but I'm sure they've taken, animals to look at.
Here's I've read cases where animals, horses and cows, that their blood was completely drained. They were not attacked as far as any. What in the world is that? Some people say those are aliens living on plasma. Some people say that that's how aliens live. There's a question there asking, how do aliens live? What do they eat? Do they eat plasma? Because there's a lot of people in that field who say that that's where, a lot of animals, a lot of livestock. Some people say it's chupacabra. But what do you think that is? These cows or these horses are literally their bodies are drained completely from blood.
I've seen the pictures where they were, cut on, and it's perfect incisions and things like that. It looks like experimental to me, James. They also say that they hear helicopters, at nighttime and stuff like that. But what they don't realize that these aliens can mask themselves, can mask their appearance to be, like helicopters and planes and things like that. It could be that they were experimenting with these animals.
Wow. So do you believe that the cows and the horses that in which their blood is being completely drained, do you think that is alien abduction, or where they're investigating, doing whatever it is that they're doing?
I believe that our scientists and the aliens are working together, James. I really do. I think we have a handle on that too.
All right. Now you're a Christian, so let's clear that up. How then, from your perspective, from your faith, how do you, as a shaman, as a psychic medium, as an alien abductee, when people say to you, there's no such thing as aliens, God didn't create aliens, the aliens don't exist, how are you able to connect the two? How are you able to say, well, sure, yeah, God created the aliens, and that doesn't mean that God is any less than? Do you have conflict there when you think about God and aliens, and that we're not the only species that exist?
I think God made everything.
So you don't see that being an issue?
No, I don't. I think God made everything. I don't think we're the only. I know we aren't the only ones in the universe, and He made the universe. So
Now, do you believe? There's a question here. Michael's asking, how can we detect if we have implants? So let's say that we're thinking that perhaps maybe we're having a dream. We have time loss. We think that perhaps we might have been. How do you know if you have an implant?
What happened to me? I felt a little pain underneath my neck. Right at the base of my neck, and there was a little pea thing, and it stayed there forever. And they've been known to put them back there in the wrist and in the feet. Anywhere in the body. So if you think you've been abducted, there are not that many people you can talk to who's going to believe you. I mean, you can call me or email me online, and we can talk about it.
Okay, so if someone came to you and said, "Listen, I have," that's fine, Charlotte. If someone said, "Okay, if I think that I might have been abducted," where could they go? I mean, I know that you just offered your services, but is there any type of online community that they could go to where they're not going to be judged or condemned?
They can contact MUFON because they have, like I was one. They have counselors that will talk to you.
All right. And what is your, if you thought, I've seen these UFOs where fighter pilots, and again, these are fighter pilots, folks. These are not people who are just, they have a little small single engine Cessna and they just learned, they got their pilot license. These are fighter pilots. They're trained, and we've captured clearly something on their computer screen where they're tracking it. And this object is going very, very fast. And it's not a balloon, and it goes into the water. Do you believe that there's an alien species or alien base that's actually in the bottom of the ocean? Many people believe that.
I do. Yeah, I really do. There are USOs in the ocean, and there are bases under there too. There are also bases in mountains and places like that. Because I've been, like I told you, a memory came back to me of being in one of these bases inside of a mountain.
I got to tell you something. A long time ago, I spoke to the widow of Captain Thomas Mantell many, many, many years ago. What was that, Willie?
Yeah, I know the case well.
I was in school, and I thought, you know what? I was very interested in UFOs, and this was back in the day where we didn't have internet. We had the phone book, and I was doing a report on UFOs, and I thought, I'm just going to look up Mantell. And so I went down the list and I called all the Mantells in Louisville, and I got a hold of his widow. And I told her, I said, look, I'm just a kid doing a topic on this. And can you tell me what was his last words? What did he say? And she said that Captain Thomas Mantell was a pilot, and it was in Kentucky. He said he reported back to the tower. It's a large shaped saucer shape, and he was chasing after it, and that was it. Something happened. And there's professional pilots, 747 pilots who've been in the air for many, many years. They are professionally trained, and they have said without question they see these large metallic objects in the sky moving at speeds that are impossible to move. Really, honest to God, if these UFOs in fact are real, they could obliterate us quite easily because they're obviously very, very advanced technologically speaking, don't you think?
I do, and what I don't understand, James, and I've thought about this a long time. You look at war. You look at places like the Ukraine being devastated like that, and a lot of these beings are really peaceful people, but they can knock stuff out with their ships. Why are they allowing this to happen to our world? I don't know, and I think about that every day. I mean, it could be over with in a matter of seconds. All they got to do is fly over and say stop, or we'll destroy you. But I just don't understand why they don't intervene.
Well, what do you I mean, because if there are grays, and from my understanding, the grays are the ones that do a lot of the abduction and the really foul things they do to people. From my understanding, that I could be wrong, but that's what I've read reports that the grays do this. They do a lot of experiments on people. If the grays are here, then you would think that they could easily, I agree with you, go to Putin and just completely wipe him out if they wanted to.
Yeah, they wouldn't even have to do that. All they would have to do is show what they could do and said, stop. I just don't understand it. I'm still thinking about that. Shimon and me talk about that all the time. They're here. Why don't they stop this?
Bob Lazar. I don't know who Bob Lazar is. Someone's asking Charlotte. Charlene, she's asking about Bob Lazar. Are you familiar with Bob Lazar?
I am.
Okay. So Charlotte's wanting to know, what is your opinion on Bob Lazar, if he knows anything about it?
I do believe he worked at Area 51. I think he was one of the guys that worked on the ships. And they try to, he came out 25, 30 years ago, and told everybody, hey, I worked at Area 51 and I worked on these ships, and they're, and they kind of run him down in the ground. Oh, he never worked here, or but he produced a tax record that showed he was there and he did work there. And I do believe he was one of the scientists that worked on ships. So
you're saying, so Bob Lazar, for those of us who, because I wasn't familiar with, because again, my knowledge on ufology is very, very limited. I would like to learn more about it. So Bob Lazar, he was I guess a scientist, and he claims he worked.
Engineer.
Okay.
An physicist, an engineer. Yeah. And
okay.
he came out and he said, I worked on these ships. This is what they look like. And they said, oh, no, you don't, he's a fraud and all this kind. He's not. He's the real deal.
So Regina's asking, I have heard this before. Regina's asking, is it true that there's a peace treaty with these aliens by past presidents?
Well, this is what I heard, and it's been shown on TV too.
Okay.
President Eisenhower made a peace treaty with, I don't know if it was the Pleiadians or what, but supposedly a peace treaty that they can, do experiments here on Earth for technology. He showed up, he showed up missing one day for I don't know how many hours and said he had to go to the dentist. But in fact, he went to an Air Force base, 3 flying saucers landed, and these beings came out and made a deal with him. So
now did you say I'm sorry, did you say Pleiadians?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pleiades, I think Adam is a Pleiadian.
Now, how would you describe what are the Pleiadians? What are they? What do they look like?
Well, they're tall.
Okay.
Long blonde hair. Like I said, olive-colored skin. Adam always wore a white jumpsuit, and and they always had a few of these blue grays with them. I don't know if they assist them or there's some kind of drones or whatever, but that's what a Pleiadian looks like. And there are different people that looked humanoid. I mean, there are aliens out there that can walk among us and you would never know it.
Yeah, that's a great question. Alaska Viking sea wolf. And if you have to go, just say, "Hey, look, I gotta run," because I know that you're busy, and I know we're going way over the time. But this is such a what's
Here
that?
for you, James.
Well, I'm really loving this conversation, and apparently everybody else is. So, Alaska Viking sea wolf. So you say you're here. You're good to go.
I'm good.
Okay. Alaska Viking sea wolf on Instagram did the aliens, I don't think it's so much demons, but did the aliens design and build the Egyptian pyramids?
Me personally, I believe they did. I believe Egyptians, are from aliens, because if you look at hieroglyphics, you can see ships on the side of these, pyramids, and humans could not have built those pyramids by themselves.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that someone's talking about Nordics, I guess Nordic aliens, maybe. I don't know. I guess I don't know who the Nordic person is.
They're human looking, and they're close to what Adam looks like. Only I don't think they're as tall.
All right. So yeah. So there you go. So those of you who okay, so of course, Willie would know this, but certainly, and Anunnaki, the Anunnakis. I've heard of Anunnakis, but I'm not familiar with them. I'm not greatly intelligent with Anunnakis, but Mesopotamian deities. So yeah, so you believe that it's quite possible that the pyramids were in fact built by.
I do.
What do you think the purpose is?
I think there's some kind of an energy module myself, because they have been put on ley lines, and you just don't find these in Egypt. They're in Mexico and everywhere. They've even found them now in the Arctic. So I believe they're kind of like an energy source.
Someone said on TikTok, blondes are Nordics. Well, I'm in trouble. I guess that explains I must be a Nordic then. So there we go. Diane is asking on Facebook, does Willie Windwalker, does he ever show on his skin? Do you have any type of markings that show that they experimented on you?
I never have found it. Well, yeah, I have found bruises, scratch marks. Like I said, my thing on the back of my neck, I've found, bruises and things like that on me.
So clearly something is going on. What do you, I'm still, this green thing that you saw, this green substance you found on your bed, and then Shaman, your wife, having the green substance, out of her, from her nose, flowing from her nose. A lot of people think that is some type of numbing agent. Is that what you kind of maybe perhaps feel or think?
It could be, James, because the sample that was on my bed wasn't a little sample. Mine was huge, about the size of 12 inches, 12 by 12, like about the size of a pie plate. And like I said, I sent it off, and it somehow got taken away. I've been watched by government. I have had experience. I don't know if I told you this or not, but one Sunday, Shaman and me were going to church,
mm-hmm.
and it was out on Dixie Highway, and it was real early, and we were going down the highway, and all of a sudden this black SUV comes up beside of us and runs me off the road. I almost turned the car upside down, and it had blacked out windows, and I'm pretty sure it was a man in black, because there was a couple of times where I went places after that. Went to the mall one time, and I was walking around the mall, and damn, they didn't show up there. They had the black suits on, and the glasses, and the whole 9 yards. So it was a scare tactic, because at that time I had a huge where I would call people into the downtown library, and we would have like 30, 40 people show up, and we would have a conference. Like they would bring their pictures of UFOs in, tell me their stories and things like that, and I would counsel them. And there was one time this guy shows up, and he was in plain clothes, and you could tell he was military just by the way he walked and how his hair was cut and everything. He had a black briefcase. We were sitting there talking, and he stood up and he introduced himself as so-and-so, and he took out this file and he shoved it over to me. He said, "Look at this." And I looked at it, and it was pictures of UFOs and beings and things like that, and writing, He said, "What do you think about that?" And I looked over to Shaman, I said, "Get your purse and take your drawings out." Shaman had drawings where she would be drawing and had these little things that would come to her mind, like hieroglyphic and stuff. And I laid them side by side, and they looked very similar, and I shoved it over to him. I said, "What do you think about that?" He looked at them and he said, "Where did you get these?" I said, "She drew them." And he asked her, "Well, where'd you get these?" She said, "I just thought them up." And he reached over and grabbed that file, put it back in his briefcase, and he left. And I knew it had to be military. He was there to mess up my meeting.
Well, do you believe aliens walk amongst us? And if so, how do we know?
I do, and we don't. You just don't know. I mean, there's some of them out there that look exactly like us, and you just don't know one from the other. Now, I have ran into a few people that I thought that felt to me different, and they said, "Well, and I would talk to them, and they I would have a conversation with them. They would smile and just walk away. But I think they're walking around.
So do you purposely try to communicate? I mean, someone's talking about a third eye and things of this nature, but do you try to communicate with these species, or do you do not want anything else to do with them?
I don't try. If they want to talk to me, they know where to find me. I don't even try, because I don't want to get in all that stuff again, because I have been basically told to back off, because I've had people that were friends of mine that were really into the UFO investigations, and a couple of them wound up dead. And when that happened, I told you, we'll just back off. I said, if they want to talk to us, they'll come to us. I ain't going to intentionally bring them down, bring them into us. Okay.
So because you are a shaman, and that is a good question. I got to someone asked, who was that? Because I know it's not really the topic, but it is a fair question. Can you tell everybody what is a skinwalker from a shaman perspective? What is a skinwalker?
A skinwalker is a witch that is able to shape shift, and they're very evil. You do not want to. You do not want to run up against a skinwalker. They're very evil, and they're usually conjured by something, or they're told to go and do something to somebody. Like if somebody has an enemy, they can conjure up a skinwalker and send them to that person, and they would wreak havoc on their family, their friends. Heck, they would even kill your dog. You do not want to go up against a skinwalker. Even shamans do not want to go up against a skinwalker unless they absolutely have to. I've had a couple of cases where I've had to check into it, but I've also had the knowledge to get away from it and tell the people to get away from it and how to deal with it without it hurting anybody.
And now you wouldn't identify skinwalkers as aliens, correct?
No.
Okay.
This is a pure evil being.
A pure evil being. And of course now, and again, just for clarification purposes, Willie's not saying that everybody who's a witch is a skinwalker. So let's just make that clear. That's not what Willie is saying. So you believe this is an evil spirit that someone has summoned for the sole purpose of causing havoc on another person.
Yes. And they usually have their own territory. If somebody tells you that's a skinwalker's territory, you believe them and you keep away from there.
All right, and skinwalker. Of course, we'll have a more. That's going to be. We'll have you back again, and we can talk about skinwalkers. But the men in black, I am convinced there are far too many credible people who have absolutely told their stories that they have seen these men in black. So you have absolutely no doubt that the men in black exist.
Oh yeah, they tried to kill me. And Shimon.
And that was because
let me take that back. It could have been a warning, but we could have been killed because they ran me off the road. The only other car on the road. They tried to. They made their presence known and said, back off. You're getting too close.
And is that because you were going public and talking about your experience as an abductee?
And I was bringing other people in to, like a little bit of. At the counseling session I had every month at the library downtown, and I would fill a room, and they would ask questions, and I would try to talk to everybody and let them know what was going on. And the MUFON wanted me to do that, and the way the MUFON found out about me is I had they knew my background some way, and they contacted me, wanted to know if I would do that. And I actually became a section director for a little while for them and became like an investigator for a little while for them. But when things started getting rough, when people started dying and I started getting phone calls and run off the road and stuff like that, I backed off because I couldn't have the chance of Shimon getting hurt.
It's funny. Monstar Sports and Entertainment and someone else there on TikTok asked the same question the exact same time. And I think that's really, really interesting. The same question was, do you think that the men in black are human, aliens, or both?
I think both. I think we got a hybrid thing going on there because they really government agents, I was in, I've worked with government agents before, and they more or less, even the way they look is makes you you quiver, you get scared because all they got to do is just stand in a room with you. So it has to, I believe that it's both.
Wow, I tell you, there's a lot. There's so much information here. Area 50. So Area 51. You believe that the crash in Roswell? Do you think that was 100% alien, or do you think that was a weather balloon?
It's 100% alien.
And you're absolutely convinced of that?
I am. What had happened was the way I was told. There was actually more than one craft that actually crashed into each other.
Oh,
and there was actually more than one crash, more than one craft.
If someone really wanted to learn more about aliens and abduction, and even perhaps maybe even, I don't know, maybe trying to think about maybe their experience, maybe being abducted, where do you suggest they go? Where can they learn about this that's credible and not, on social media?
Okay. I became friends with the Hewin sisters. They run Starborn Support, and they're in Rhode Island, and they run the Starborn Support group. Contact them, and they will give you all the information you need to know.
Now, who is this? Who are these people again?
They're the Hewin sisters. They're Audrey Hewin and Debbie Hewin. They run the Starborn Support group. They're out of Rhode Island. They're abductees. They've been abductees since 6 years old, and it's an ongoing thing with them. And if you want to know all about that stuff, they can give you all the information you need.
Wow. So yeah, Alien Abductees finds Solace and Support Group. Solace there, the Starborn Support Group, Rhode Island. There's a lot of people who absolutely, no question, are convinced that alien abduction does occur. And I'll ask that question. There are some people who say that that Bigfoot is a species, an alien species. Do you accept that agreement or argument, or do you think nope, it's a completely different species altogether?
Well, they've been around for a long time, centuries, James, and I believe they're capable of doing spiritual things. They can be right in front of you and not see them. So I believe they're some kind of they're able to go in and out of dimensions and things like that. So I think it's a sort of an elemental thing going on with them. I don't think they're alien at all. I think it's just a tribe. They're all over the world. It's like a tribe of them.
Wow. And there's a lot of people that's going to be another topic that I want to talk about. Again, I will be discussing Bigfoot in detail and actually talking about some really credible people who have come forth and who said there's no question that these things exist. And so how knowledgeable or would you say you are on Bigfoot?
Well, James, I don't know if you know it or not, but there's a Bigfoot organization in Westport, West Point, Kentucky, and they're saying that Bigfoot showed up a lot there. So it's really close to me, maybe 10, 15 miles away. So, I believe that Bigfoot, is I don't think that they're alien. I think that they might be a little bit, like I said, they're tribal. And and a lot of people saying that they see lights when Bigfoot's around, if they see ships and stuff like that. That could be because the aliens are interested in them too. So it could be a lot of things going on.
All right. Well, first of all, how do people, so you would suggest if they want to contact you or buy your books, they go to Amazon, The Shaman, Windwalker, and Soul Warriors. Is that correct?
That's right.
And if they want to contact you, because I know that you, again, Willie offers totem readings, cleansings, blessings, weddings. So if they want to speak to you about booking a session with you, then where would you suggest they go?
Crystal Chief 55 at AOL.com.
So Crystal Chief, CRYSTAL Chief 55 at AOL.com. And that's
I'm also Willie Gibson on Facebook.
Yeah, so you can search that, and I'm sure you can find him. Any other lasting thoughts that you would like to chat about before we head out?
Only to tell people out there, don't dwell over this alien thing, because there's nothing we can really do about it. These creatures are way more advanced than we are, and people ask me, said, Willie, don't you worry about them coming and get you and experiment? I said, I don't. I got to wear Shaman. I got to wear. It's a way of life with us. If they show up, fine. If they don't, fine. Just don't let it take over your life. If you think you've been an alien abduction, you're like I said, you can contact Starborn Support Group in Rhode Island, Kentucky. They're Rhode Island, and the women's names is Audrey and Debbie Ewan. You can look them up. You can Google them.
All right. And Shannon Long, my sister, said that you changed her life. So she obviously has a lot of respect for you. And Elaine says Willie is the real deal. And you are. I mean, the thing about Willie is he's not getting paid for this interview. He's doing this because you are very passionate about wanting to teach people about your experiences. And obviously it's very important for you you feel it's very important for you to do that.
Yeah, people keep telling me, there's no way you've done all this. I said, well, it's been going on for 57 years. You can fill a lot of things in 57 years. It just happens. I draw stuff like that to me. You know me, James. You know how it is.
Yeah. Okay, so one last thing. Is there one particular abduction that you've experienced that really affected you, whether it be negatively or positively? Is there one thing? And then I want to ask you, and then I'll let you go. And what about first of all, let's do this. The Travis Walton case. Everybody knows the movie, The Fire in the Sky, right? So if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's called Fire in the Sky. It is the alleged story of Travis Walton, his abduction. Again, I met Travis. I've spoken to Travis about his experience. But to be honest, now look, here's the deal. I have to be transparent about everything because it's only fair to do that. I do know that Travis Walton appeared on a game show, and it was a truth or lie game show. And the question, I think he was at his last question for a lot of money. And they said, hey, look, do you want to stop here or do you want to go for the big bucks? And he said, no, let's go. And they asked him a question. And so they put him in a lie detector test. And the lie detector test said, true or false, you were abducted in this story with the fire in the sky by alien life. And he said, true. Well, and the host said, now, again, before you can stop right now and take the money. I think it was a pretty good amount of money. He said, take it now and we'll end it, or you can go for the big buck. He said, no, I want to go for the big bucks. And the computer said, you lied. That Travis Walton lied. And that was on a game show that he appeared on. So the lie detector or the computer, I don't know if there's a lie detector or if it was a computer, it was some type of computer program that that could detect, I think that's what it was, that could detect if someone was telling the truth or not. And it came back as false, that the computer said, nope, you were not abducted. So do you believe that Travis Walton was abducted? And is there one particular abduction situation that you had that either changed your life negatively or positively?
First of all, I met Travis Walton when you did. We were at the same event.
Yep.
And he should have took the money.
So, okay.
What happened to the one that shook me up once? Shimon and me were driving down the highway. We were on Shelbyville, I think it was Frankfort Avenue, driving down the highway, and all of a sudden, I blinked, and we were in Simpsonville. I looked at you. I said, "Where are we?" She said, "I don't know." I said, "I was on Shelbyville Road. What where am I?" And I looked up, and I'm in Simpsonville, and I had 40 minutes time loss. They took us that fast, and I didn't know what happened, and that kind of shook me up a little bit.
You were where now? Well, you were where, and you ended up in what? Say that again.
I was driving down Shelbyville Road, close to where you used to live at.
Yep.
And it was just a blink of an eye. As a matter of fact, it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and all of a sudden things changed. I looked around; it wasn't where I was before, and I looked up, and we were in Simpsonville.
What? Simpsonville from Shepherdsville Road.
Yeah,
that's a good hike. I mean, that's a good drive. That's not something. That's just not right around the corner. For those of you who don't know, that's a pretty good drive.
45 minutes time lost, and I didn't know how I got there. That shook us up pretty good.
So so the only way they can do that is if they're able to manipulate time.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That, or they just took us in, like beamed us or whatever, but we were in Simpsonville. So that shook me up.
Well, Willie, I do appreciate you willing to jump on here and chatting with us again. If you go to Willie, you can go to Facebook, Willie Gibson. You can also contact Willie at crystalchief55@aol.com. Make sure you also go to Amazon and pick up his books that are very good. I read both of them. I like both. They're really good. They're Shaman Windwalker and Soul Warriors. And make sure you pick those up at Amazon. And again, crystalchief55@aol.com, and you can reach out to him that way. Willie, thank you.
There's many producers out there, the Shaman Windwalker would make a good movie or series. So I'm just saying, you might want to pick it up and see what you think.
No, I agree with you. I think they should. I think that would be a phenomenal show or even a movie. And I think that would be really, really cool. So, well, thank you, Willie. I appreciate you jumping on and chatting with us.
Okay. Thank you, James. I'll come back anytime.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night. Hi, everybody.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, that was Willie Windwalker. He is such let me tell you something. Willie is a really great guest. I mean, he can talk about anything. He's been in the paranormal for so long, and he has had such a wealth of experience. And we'll have him on. I'll definitely have him on again. No question about it. He can talk about pretty much anything related to the paranormal. He's whether it be demonology, whether it be ufology, Bigfoot. So I definitely will definitely have him back on. No question about that. Yeah, Willie Windwalker Gibson, and again, that's crystalchief55@aol.com. Yeah, that's that's pretty interesting, huh, folks? There's a lot to it. When you're talking about aliens, you're talking about abduction. That's scary. That is scary stuff, because it's kind of it's one of those things you kind of it's uncomfortable because you're out of you don't have any control, and when they're doing these things to you, it certainly is It's quite scary. People are asking me, what do I think about them? Look, here's the deal. Here's what I can tell you. I experienced what I thought was a dream when I saw that thing come down. It felt very real to me. And to this day, those tracks are still there. I still cannot explain why my watch was out there. So I don't know. And I can also say that there are pilots who have flown for 20 and 30, 40 years, flew 747. These people are professional pilots, fighter pilots, professional pilots, commercial pilots, who are clearly saying they are seeing something in the sky that they cannot define. So that defies all logic. And when you have people like that, very credible sources who are reporting that they're seeing these things, I think we can't just dismiss it and say, oh, that's just stupid. Well, you know what? Then you prove it. You prove that they don't exist, because I'm telling you that there are a lot of credible sources that have absolutely come forth and said there's something going on. Very credible. Like this. Let me share this one from you. This is from 8newsnow.com. So this is from George Knapp, a former intelligence official, breaks his silence on government UFO investigations. Jay Stratton is one of the United States government's highest ranking and most experienced UFO hunters. During his long career working with various intelligence agencies, Stratton might have seen more of the Pentagon's hidden UFO files than anyone else. He is the only person in the federal government to have worked directly on all three of the most recent UFO programs, including one based in Las Vegas. When the mysterious unidentified flying object dubbed Tic Tac, that's the name of it, it was dubbed Tic Tac, alerted U.S. Navy aviators and sensors off the coast of San Diego in 2004, the federal government dropped the incident instead of investigating it. The first in-depth probe into the accident occurred 5 years later under the auspices of then secretive program called AAWSAP. You can, again, check that out. It's called AAWSAP. That stands for the Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Application Program. Created by the Defense Intelligence Agency with black budget funding, spearheaded by Senator Harry Reid at the time. So the Tic Tac was the first UFO incident tackled by the AAWSAP and its contractor, Las Vegas aerospace pioneer Robert Bigelow. The U.S. released the report in 2018, and Stratton is the man who wrote it. Stratton said his work into the incidents was just that, rather than a passion project. He says, I didn't really have a passion growing up, said Stratton. I didn't have all the books. I didn't watch all the TV shows. I stepped into a job at the Defense Intelligence Agency where some things came across the desk. So from 2008 until 2021, nearly everything related to UFO activity came across Stratton's desk. He was the individual who decided to abandon the acronym UFO in favor of UAP, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. So Stratton worked the highest levels of naval intelligence, which loaned him to the Defense Intelligence Agency, where he excelled at reverse engineering. So he and his colleague, Dr. James Lukatsky, a rocket scientist, saw reports of the unknown craft. Stratton assumed that a central location was analyzing those reports. He says, as we tried to find that office, we found nothing. They set out to create an office that would fit the bill. So Dr. Lukatsky was reading about a UFO hotspot named Skinwalker Ranch. And after a visit to the property, Dr. Lukatsky pitched the creation of a formal investigation to the location. Reid agreed to funding it, and Bigelow landed the contract. Stratton consulted with AAWSAP program and later its successors, AATIP, or Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. So in 2017, the head of the AATIP, Luis Elizondo, resigned and revealed the program's existence to the New York Times. Stratton's boss asked him to come back and cobble together a new program. Congress eventually formalized that effort under a new name, the UAP Task Force. Look it up. It's there. UAP Task Force. One of Stratton's projects was the creation of the comprehensive but classified briefing that included the video of UAP and photos collected by the military, and most of those images remain unreleased. Now, some were leaked, including pictures of objects encountered on the East Coast and buzzing Navy ships on the West Coast. Stratton scoffed at debunkers who explain away the objects as flares or drones or birds. He said, it's frustrating because you know the rest of the story and you can't tell the rest of the story, said Stratton. That's kind of scary. In 2021, Stratton left the UAP task force, but only after his work formed the basis of a stunning congressional report of 144 incidents. The task force investigated, listen to this, of 144 incidents. The UAP task force investigated, 143 were considered unidentified. Now, this is the man who does it. So again, people say, well, I don't think so. Well, this is the guy who actually worked it. Stratton and chief scientist Dr. Travis Taylor now work for Radiance Technologies. It's a defense contractor with offices in 17 states, including Nevada. When the two appeared in the audience of an Alabama UAP conference in the summer of 2022, UFO circles inquired about what Radiance Technologies might be up to. And Stratton admits that there are more questions than answers. You know what? When you have somebody who actually is the guy, who has actually worked for the government, in which the government actually funded this project, and they investigated 145 unidentified aerial phenomena, 144. And out of the 144, they could only explain one. The 143 remain unidentified. Folks, these are not people who are, well, I'm just going to watch Ancient Aliens, or I'm going to watch social media today, or these are people who are highly skilled. These are people who are advanced in their knowledge. These are not people who do this by armchair, who just talk about it and have no experience. These are actually the professionals. And the professionals in which a government has funded this program, they cannot explain 143 out of the 144 incidents. That right there, you cannot dismiss. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, I just don't think. Well, you know what? Okay, well, and then you explain it. Because if scientists that actually worked in the defense program, if they've gathered together this community, this UAP task force, and it's their job to identify these things, if they can't, and they're getting a budget for it, that's a problem. Because if anybody could identify, it would be them. So it's not an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. Okay, great. Congratulations. You want a cookie. That doesn't make it a fact. But if these people can't identify it, then nobody can. I think that's what's so amazing about this report, is when you have something like this, that you can't dismiss it as just nonsense, because it's not. So, yeah, you're right. And you're right. Pope and the Vatican has made it very clear. A lot of people don't know that actually the Vatican has a very, very strong program in astronomy. I mean, they have telescopes. So they have a pretty powerful program there as well. So again, you can think what you think. You can have an opinion that they don't exist. Well, then you study the 144 UAP, the task force incidents that they did, and you explain them. And don't say, well, in my opinion, they're just flares, because this guy that I just said is the professional, and he scoffs at the idea that it's just flares. Pretty crazy stuff. It really is. I tell you what, it's uncomfortable because you don't know what these things are. And there's another thing that I want to share with you that I saw the other day, since the topic is UFO and alien abduction. That's the topic for this evening. I want to share this article with you that I found from Diana Logan. So UFO reports have been steadily rising in frequency over the last few years, possibly due to the increased use of drones and other small aircraft. That's fine. But in 2023, it seems to have reached fever pitch. Russia has announced that they shot down. If you guys haven't heard this, Russia has announced that they shot down what they describe as a UFO. And just this morning, the U.S. government revealed they have been tracking a Chinese spy balloon, that many people have mistaken as a UFO. But not all unidentified flying objects are made the same. So there's a video, possible a UFO over the Baltimore in January. A lot of people say that it is up for debate. You can check that out if you want to. There is a helicopter sized UFO seen in Baltimore. You can check this out on TikTok. The TikTok's name is Midnight Stories 32. All one word on TikTok, Midnight Stories 32. Apparently, there was this, the helicopter-sized UFO that was seen. In the video, a man claims the shiny silver ball is the size of a helicopter and was flying in such a straight line so quickly that observers figured it must have been crafted by someone or something intelligent. But is this true? Well, it's actually quite easy to be mistaken about size and distance in a clear blue sky, sure, with no other objects or clouds to help to determine. That's fair. What people might be mistaken for a helicopter size craft might actually be hundreds of meters further away than they think. Also, balloons can be quite large. And as for the speed and direction, especially this balloon caught up in a jet stream and high altitude. So let me just do this right now. I'm going to go to TikTok on my phone, and let me just turn the volume down. Hold on one second. There we go. And I'm going to type in Midnight Stories, MIDNIGHT. Good grief. That's what happens when you get old. Yeah. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Midnight, STORIES. Stories 32. Okay, we're going to find out about this little thing. Here it is. Here. Okay, Midnight Stories. Oh, they have several things going on here. Wow. So they got the UFOs take formation over New York. Well, that is interesting. And there is this, I don't know. There's clearly something there, but we don't know what that is. Yeah, check it out. You might want to. Yeah, that's a really. I think I'm gonna. That's a real cool thing. I might have to do a duet on that. But yeah, we don't know. Something's going on. What that is, your guess is as good as mine, but I don't know. I think we can't just immediately dismiss it as just as a nonsense or just ridiculousness. So what are some of your questions and that you would like to ask me? And then we're going to kind of wrap things up a little bit and go from there. Hopefully you've enjoyed the presentation. Willie does do a lot of, he can do really any topic you want to talk about. Willie can talk about it. I mean, he's been in the field for so long. He's a wealth. He's like an encyclopedia. And so if there's a particular question or topic that you would like for us to discuss, besides Bigfoot, we can certainly do that. Constantine, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. Who's Your Daddy, 1980. It's been so long since I've seen it. I'm going to have to watch it again because I can't remember a whole lot about it. So I'd have to watch it again to give you an honest opinion. Well, see, there's a lot of things that people say, well, the Bible doesn't talk about aliens. Well, some people say, well, yeah, they do. In Ezekiel, some people say, aha, there's proof right there. The aliens in the Bible that Ezekiel. Here's the Bible doesn't talk about a lot of things. And what someone's asking it, what Ezekiel, what chapter? Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 1 through 28. And there's this belief that that something came from this cloud, a stormy wind came from the north, and a great cloud with brightness around it and fire flashing forth continually in the midst of the fire were a gleaming metal. So that's one argument that some people claim. The Bible doesn't talk about the internet, but it's here. The Bible doesn't talk about the Eiffel Tower, but it's here. The Bible doesn't talk about iPhones, but they're here. The Bible doesn't talk about Zoom. It doesn't talk about StreamYard. It doesn't talk about 747s. It doesn't talk about Concords. It doesn't talk about the space shuttle. So I think we have to be careful with saying, well, the Bible doesn't talk about that, so therefore it doesn't exist. Well, if that's the case, then that's the implication with that statement is that everything that we have today, the Bible talks about. But that's not the point of the Bible. And that's not the point of Scripture at all. So Alaska, well, what was the most memorable experience on your time with Ghost Adventures TV show? When we were at Bobby Mackey's, I think that the most memorable had to have been when I was using a device in which I couldn't hear the guys. And there's a particular name for it. And you can't hear the people. You can't hear questions. You can't see who is. It's basically you have a blindfold on. You can't see anybody. You can't hear anybody. You have a headset, noise canceling headset. You're using the device, and whatever you're hearing come through, you just say it. You just say it. You don't know who asked the question. You don't know if anybody did ask a question. And it was during an investigation that we were there that evening, that things were coming through, and I'm like, what in the world is it talking about a tree and forest? And it's like, why am I getting this coming through? That's kind of dumb. But I kept saying these things, and then we finished, and I took the blind set off, and man, Aaron was really upset. Really upset. And I thought, well, did I say something wrong? But apparently there were some things going on in his life that came through this device, and it really affected him. So I think that when they had to close it down, I think we closed at like at 4:30 at Bobby Mackey's. We had to stop. We couldn't do the whole entire shoot, because when we were at Bobby Mackey's, it was so intense. Man, it was affecting every one of them. And so I think to be able to see how the demonic can pick people off one by one with the manipulation of their emotions or whatever it is that they're going through in life, and just pick, just like chip away. And when you see it, and because I had no idea, some of the things that they were going through, because it was very personal, but it was affecting them greatly. They had to stop it. They had to stop, but they couldn't complete it. And so, yeah, it was, when I go back to Bobby Mackey's, people ask me all the time when I go back to Bobby Mackey's, I mean, there really is no need for me to, unless they contacted me and said, hey, look, could you come back, please? And bless the location again, I guess, yeah, Estes method. Thank you. I guess I would if they asked me to, but otherwise there really is no need for me to go back there. Just as much as there's no need for me to I guess go back to the Gates of Hell Cemetery, which, by the way, I am going to do. Yes, I am going to be doing a YouTube series on that. I can't do it yet because we're in the middle of February, and right now the weather is really questionable, and it's not the best road to get back there. The road is really bad. So I have to wait until things kind of clear up a little bit as far as the weather. So I am expecting to do that in March, late February, early March, sometime around. So you have to go to my YouTube page and you have to subscribe. And it's only going to air on my YouTube page. So I'm going to actually try to do several episodes there at the Gates of Hell. And that's a pretty intense place. Very intense place. For those of you who are on Spreaker, I'm going to have to say goodnight to you guys and have hopefully you have a beautiful evening, and thank you for being here. Man, I can't believe it's already that time. It goes by way too fast. I'm going to remind you that tonight we have at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do have our night prayer. Night prayer is strictly audio. It's just audio only. It's on Spreaker. So if you want to go to night prayer at 10 p.m., you can go to bishopjameslong.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom where it says night prayer, and click that link. For those of you who are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and KGRADB, I want to thank you so much for being here. And so let me remind everybody, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, you're priceless. Never let anybody convince you otherwise. Facebook, TikTok, don't go anywhere. I'll be with you guys in a minute. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow night right here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.